Hello, welcome in everybody. Take your seats. I know the seats are arranged kind of weird, but that is because today is special. Today is a special day. Does anyone know why today is so special? Yeah, that's because today is the last day of first semester of third grade. So today we are having our winter break celebration. We are celebrating the winter holidays, Christmas. It's going to be a really nice time for all of you guys. And yeah, we have some fun activities planned for you. Okay, so everybody just take your seats. If you're just coming in, take your seat. Okay, and I'm going to start attendance in a minute. Just gonna make sure everyone's in their seats, and it looks like everyone's about there, so we can get started with attendance, okay? Okay, you guys know the drill. Raise your hand and tell me here, okay? All right. Okay, Maddie, here, okay. Michael, here, okay. Victor, here, okay. Rebecca's here. Georgia's here. Okay, Mallory, see you right there. Okay, Joe is right there, and Jacob is next to him. Okay, Benny is here. John is here. Antonio is here. Okay, Hallie is here. Claire is here too. Trey is there as well. Is Daniel here? Okay. Nathan's here. Nick is here. Louise here. Gary here. Alex. Okay. Ashley. Okay. Dustin is here. Samuel's here. Raheem is here. Okay, Lynn is here. Keith here. Brandon here. Caroline here. Devin. Okay. Dawn here. Viviana here. Mercedes is here. Chloe is here. Chloe's here. Carlos is here. Okay, Christopher is here. Emma is here. Celeste is here. Brooke is here. Kristen is here. Melissa is here. So is Francesca. Okay. Emily is here. Hadley is here too. Matthew's here. Jonathan's here. Helena is here. Courtney is here. Suzanne is here. And then finally James is here. Okay, good deal. So everyone is in class today, so that's good to hear. Okay, so we just did our roll call. Now I'm going to pass out some worksheets. I'm going to get some of you guys to come up here and pass them around the class. We have these two we're going to be working on today. Okay, so this first one has a list of pictures, and don't worry about the bottom two because when I was copying these in the office they got cut off, so don't worry about these. You guys can cross off the bottom two. Is everyone listening to me? Okay, 1, 2, eyes on me. 1, 2, eyes on you. Okay, everyone come up here and listen. We're gonna cross these two off, and we're gonna do just these 6. I counted wrong. Just these 8, okay? So how this works is there's a picture, and you're gonna circle which one it is. Is it a present or a tree? This one. Is it a holly or a star? Okay. And then we have this other sheet. It's a little Christmas tree. And you're going to solve the little math problems, okay? If you need to count on your hands, that's fine. As we learn, excuse me, my phone is going off. As we learn more through the school year, you guys are going to rely on your hands less. But for now, since it's still the first semester, you guys can use your hands to count, okay? We've just got some equations, and whatever answer you get corresponds to the color. We have coloring pencils up at my desk as well as some at your guys' own desks. So if you need any extra, there'll be some at my office. So you'll fill out these two. And if you get done with those early, I have some Christmas coloring sheets that you guys can do. But you guys need to be done with these before you get one of these, okay? Take all the time you need, but you guys have to be done with these, okay? Okay, so everyone can start working, and if anyone needs help, you are more than welcome to come to my desk, and I'll have a little help study session, okay? Okay. Hi, were you needing some help on the worksheet? Yeah, not to worry. Here, could you hand me it? Okay. You're working on this letter one? Okay. Okay, let's see. How can I explain this to you? Okay, so we're going to sound it out, okay? So what do you think this is? A present, right? I think you're having trouble sounding out the words, okay? So this is a present. So what is the present? The word present start with P. Okay. And can you say this out loud? You just got to sound it out. Present. Good. What does it spell? Present. Yep. And then this one starts with a T, so sound it out. Tree. Good. So which one would you circle? Present. Okay. I'll help you with one more, and then I'll see if you can do one on your own, okay? Okay, now let's look at this one. You had to guess, what do you think this is? What shape is it? A star. Good. So what does star start with? What letter? S, right? Okay. So sound it out. So S. So you know it's that one, but we're also going to make sure we know how to sound it out, okay? So S-T-A-R, star. And then this one is an H-O-L-L-Y. So it's holly. So you're going to circle the star, okay? Okay. Do you want to practice this one by yourself? This one's a little trickier because remember these started with different letters, but these are going to start with the same, so it's going to be a little trickier. Let's work at this one real quick because this one's a little difficult, okay? Okay, so what is this? A sleigh. Yep. So what does sleigh start with? An S? Okay. So see, they both start with S's, so we're going to have to sound them out, okay? So let's do the top one. S-L-E-I-G-H. What does that sound out to? Sleigh. Good. And then what about this one? S-L-A-Y, and that sounds out to sleigh. Sleigh. So they both sound the same. You're going to learn about these a little bit next semester when we come back from school. So sleigh and sleigh. This is kind of something you have to memorize. So the sleigh with the E-I and the G-H is what you use for an actual Christmas sleigh, okay? And then sleigh is like used in those fantasy books, like you're slaying a dragon. So we'll learn about that later, don't worry. Okay, I'm gonna give this back to you and just try your best. It's not for a grade, it's just to see what kind of level you're on. So I'll hand that back to you and you can work on the rest, okay? Don't worry about it if you get some wrong, okay? Okay. Yes. Do you need help on the other worksheet? Okay. This one? Okay, yep. Now let's take a look at this worksheet. Let's start at the top. That one's probably the simplest. Okay. Do you know what letters or numbers these are? 1 and 1, okay? So, do you want to count on your fingers? 1 and 1. So you combine them, and what does that make? 1, 1. So then how many fingers is that? 2. Good. So I'll write that down for you. So 1 plus 1 equals 2, and then what color would that be? Blue. Yep. Let's do another one. Let's do a trickier one. Let's see. Let's do this one. 3 plus 2, okay? So you can just think, okay, so let's hold up 5 hands. Let's take off 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. So how many do you have? 5. Okay, good. Yeah, you just got to think about it a little slower and really count it out. Okay, so what color would this one be? Yellow, good, okay. Then you have your colored pencils. You can color those in. Okay, let's do one more since you were a little bit confused. Oh, let's do this one. This one might be a little tricky for you. So 3 plus 3. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And then what do we do with the extra one? We do it on this finger. So we have 6. Since we got this one, our answer is 6. So what color would that be? Orange, right? Yep. Okay, so I'll give that back to you. Yes, did you have a question? Comment? Your table's done with the worksheets? Okay. I just want to make sure we have enough time and everyone finishes their worksheets. Is everyone done with their worksheets? Okay, good. We can start on the next activity. Okay, so everyone put away your worksheets and grab out this piece of blank paper. Everyone should have one at their desk, okay? And we're going to be making snowflakes. This was one of my favorite things to do when I was a kid and I was in school, so I thought it would be fun to bring it back and show you guys how to make little snowflakes. Okay, so everybody, eyes up front. You guys are going to need to have a lot of attention on how to make this because this is going to involve a lot of steps, okay? But it'll be really fun. So we're going to grab our paper and we're going to fold it hamburger style. We're going to fold it hamburger style and make sure the corners and the sheet lines up. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just try your best. It should look pretty even. This always takes me a second, so don't worry if it takes you a minute. Okay. Okay, let's see. Looks pretty even to me. Make sure you get that crease good. Okay, and then we're gonna fold it hamburger style again this way, and again make sure the creases are there and the corners of the paper are lined up on this side, okay? And everybody hold up their paper just to make sure that you did it right. Let me look at everyone's papers. Okay, good. Okay, now we're gonna get our scissors at our desk. I lost my big ones, so I just have these little baby scissors, but we'll make it work. And the first thing that I like to do is we're gonna look at each corner and we're gonna do a little half circle. And this is gonna really get the shape of the snowflake. So you're gonna just make a little half circle. Say half circle there. Then at the next one, and then the next one, okay? And this is where the fun part starts. It's the more creative part. So you're going to be making little designs on each of these edges, and you guys can do triangles, half circles, little squares. So I like to do a little bit of triangles. You guys can do the same design or a different one. I think it's kind of fun for all of them to look different, but you're going to do a little shape, and you're always going to leave a little space. That's the important part. So we can cut starting like right here You can do a little half circle, and then we'll do a little triangle here, making sure to leave a little bit of space between. You can just make this random, however you guys like. I think it's really fun and neat when all of them look a little bit different, kind of like our class, you know, because everyone's different. Okay. Does anyone have anything fun they're doing over break? Yeah? You can share. What are you doing for break? You're going to your family's house? Where do they live? Oh wow, Florida. That'll be fun. So you get to visit the beach. Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm probably just gonna celebrate Christmas with my family here in town. Yeah. Anyone else want to share what they're doing for Christmas? Oh, you're going skiing. Wow, that's a lot of fun. Are you excited for that? Yeah, I bet. I need some skiing tips. I've never been skiing. It kind of scares me. Okay, I'm almost done. You guys can just follow along with me. Take your time though. Okay, hopefully I figured this out right and it turns out looking like a snowflake. Okay, so this is what mine looks like. I know it doesn't look really like a snowflake, but there are pretend snowflakes. This is what mine looks like, but each and every one will look different. And yeah, so after the break, or during the break, I'm gonna hang these up and we're gonna put them all up around the classroom. Yeah, okay. If everyone's finished up with that, you can still keep working. I was gonna read some stories and then we were gonna have our movie time. So I have a couple Christmas stories that I think are just so classic. I have How the Grinch Stole Christmas and then The Polar Express. I'm gonna start with How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Everyone can take a seat in front of here by the reading area and just listen to the story, okay? And then we'll watch a movie afterwards. Okay, How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think that most likely, the most reason likely of all, may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. Whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Then he growled, with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow he knew all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys. And then, oh the noise, oh the noise. Noise, noise, noise. That's the one thing he hated, the noise. Noise, noise, noise. Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. Feast, feast, feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. They'd sing, and then they'd sing. Sing, sing, sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked, what a great cringy trick. With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. all I need is a reindeer." The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, "If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead." So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramble-shack sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Giddy up," and the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. All their windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the Whos were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, "This is stop number 1, the old Grinch Klaus hissed, and climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fists. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. "These stockings," he grinned, "are the first things to go." Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. Then he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I will stuff up the tree." And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove, when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who. The Grinch had been caught. Who? Little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. "Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was the log for their fire. Then he went to the chimney himself, up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 1/4 past dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. "Pooh, pooh to the Who's," he was grinchiously humming. "They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry boo-hoo. That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear." So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sounded very merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes, or bags, and he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day, and the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast feast. The end. That was How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Do you guys want to read another one? Okay, so I have this one's pretty quick story. This is The Polar Express. Okay, The Polar Express by Chris Van Allsburg. On Christmas Eve, many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound a friend had told me I'd never hear, the ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew I was wrong. I knew he was wrong. Late that night I did hear sounds, though not of ringing bells. From outside came the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest, then looked up at the window. I put on my slippers and robe. I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. "All aboard," the conductor cried. Out. I ran up to him. "Well," he said, "are you coming?" "Where?" I asked. "Why, to the North Pole, of course," was his answer. "This is the Polar Express." I took his outreached hand and he pulled me aboard. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nugget centers as white as snow. We drank hot chocolate as thick as and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the lights of towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. Soon, there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forests, where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. We climbed mountains so high it seemed as if we would scrape the moon, but the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on a frozen sea. "There," said the conductor, "is the North Pole." The North Pole. It was a huge city standing alone at the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first, we saw no elves. "They are gathering at the center of the city," the conductor told us. "That is where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas." "Who receives the first gift?" we all asked. "He will choose one of you." "Look," shouted one of the children, "the elves." Outside we saw hundreds of elves. As our train drew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no further, we stopped and the conductor led us outside. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing the silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound like nothing I'd ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. He marched over to us and, pointing to me, said, "Let's have this fellow here." He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up. I sat on Santa's knee and he asked, "Now what would you like for Christmas?" I knew that I could have any gift I could imagine, but the thing I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's giant bag. What I wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. Then he gave me a hug and he told an elf to cut a bell from a reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood holding the bell above him and called out, "The first gift of Christmas." A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names and cracked his whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us, then disappeared in the cold, dark polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa Claus's sleigh. "Let's hurry outside and look for it," one of the children said, but the train gave a sudden lurch and started moving. We were on our way home. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at my doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. What? I yelled out. He cupped his hands around his mouth. Merry Christmas, he shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. It had my name on it. Inside was the silver bell. There was a note. Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C. I shook the bell. It made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yes," said my father, "it's broken." When I'd shaken the bell, my parents had not heard a sound. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me as it does for all who truly believe. And that was the Polar Express. Okay, guys, well, those are all the activities I had planned for today on our Christmas party day. We're gonna go watch a movie and have some little treats. I wanted to take a little vote if you guys wanted to watch Home Alone or The Polar Express. So everybody raise your hand if you want to watch Home Alone. Okay, let me do a little count. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14. Okay, raise your hand if you want to watch The Grinch that, or not The Polar Express, The Grinch That Stole Christmas. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 25, 6, 30. Okay, so we're gonna watch The Grinch That Stole Christmas. Okay, and yeah, so I'm gonna put that movie on. Okay, thank you guys for doing all the activities with me. Everyone just take a seat on the floor and I will start that movie. Okay.